Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Philip. Welcome back to another track guide video where today we take a look at the ARCA car around Watkins Glen International classic layout. So typically I'm an oval driver, but today I'm going to teach you a road course. I know, funny. I know what to do here though. You get down to the first turn and you oh no. Okay, now we got all that out of the way. So, all jokes aside, this is actually a really fun car and track setup. I'm having fun with it so far, so we'll go through it. And what better way to begin than taking a look at the track map? So this is probably one of the most oval-like road courses, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, just don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. One really fun thing about this track is if you saw the guide from Indianapolis where we did the centripetal circuit drill, where we practiced our tire slip and controlling the rear of the car, a lot of that comes into play at this track because you have these longer sweeping corners. So it's kind of a skill that you'll need to get all the way through the S's and down turn 5, and to get a good exit out of turn 7. And by looking at the map here, you can see that the corner that the exit is most important on will be turn 4, as that leads out to the longest straightaway. But there is kind of this weird caveat with this corner, is that the momentum that you carry through turns 3 directly feeds into turn 4. So you have to get a good run through turn 3 so that you can carry all that momentum all the way up through the S's to carry your speed. If not, then you're losing a bit of time on the exit. So my advice would be it's okay to give up a little bit on your entry of turn 2 so that you can set yourself up really well for kind of maintaining the weight of the car and the balance and getting a good run through 3 and 4 together. Because you won't make up your speed by really firing it harder down into turn 2. One thing that I really enjoy about road courses is kind of the mind game that goes in with trying to pass somebody. A lot of the time, you don't get the whole pass done in one corner. It might take 2 or 3, or maybe setting yourself up in the right spot. So, for example, um, at the turn 5, you could try to take the inside and get a good run out, but then you'll be on the outside for turn 6 if you're side by side, and then you'll be on the inside again for turn 7. So you can really see how being on the outside of one corner doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get past or that you can't really hang on to it, to that position. Switching over now to talk about steering ratio and brake bias. I like a 12-to-1 steering ratio, and I like a 61% front brake bias. Shift that as far back as you're comfortable with, because it does make the car a little bit looser on braking, but it does let you drive a little deeper into the braking zone. So it's a trade-off. Kind of stick with what you're comfortable with, and maybe throughout the week shift it a little further back to see what you can handle and what you like. If you get to a point where it's becoming difficult to hold the car on the track, then just move your brake bias forward a little bit, because remember, it's always going to be faster on the asphalt than in the grass. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the lap, and then we will slow it down and talk about it more in depth after that. Alright, time for our slowed down, in-depth look at the lap. Don't get too squirrely out of here, try to get a decent run. So we're going to brake as this tree passes our peripheral vision, about medium brake pressure. Then you want to start slowly bleeding off of the brakes as you get into the corner. And you're going to aim for this different colored bit of asphalt here as that has a little bit more grip. So you ideally want to get your left side tires on there, and that'll let you carry a bit more speed out of this corner. You get the power down, you'll feel the car stay just a little bit more planted. So now we've got our next challenge, the downhill braking zone into 1. So I look for the caution light on the left. In between that and the 300 board, I start braking. And you stay in third gear, use a lot of engine braking before you downshift into second. But be careful on your brake pressure. You might start bleeding off the brakes going into the corner. Too much brakes here and downshifting too early, you spike the RPMs, and because you're braking so hard, the rear tires lose grip, so don't do that. And trying to put the power down, back of the car is going to feel pretty shifty right here as you travel over this bit of bump, and you can get the power down and take a good line out of here. Now we've got another different color strip of asphalt that we're going to look for as we come into this corner. So shift up to third pretty early so that you don't have to do it in the middle of the corner. Let off the throttle a little bit. The back of the car is going to want to try to come around on you, so work with it and aim for this strip of concrete or asphalt right here. And you might have to let out of the gas a little bit to try to keep the car on this side of the track. You don't want to drive out too early out of this corner because you want to set yourself up good for turn 3. And once again, aim for this bit of asphalt. You can see we're about half throttle, 3/4 throttle. It's really hard to get full throttle right here because the back of the car is just so light and wandering around. By the time you get up to the top of the hill here, you can shift up into fourth and get a good run all the way down this part of the track. So this next part is tricky because we have the crest to deal with in the middle of our braking zone. So you see where the white line is pretty thick? Right where it thins out, somewhere in between here and the tire barrier is where I start my braking. Now you want to try to get down into third gear before you come over this crest. As the car travels over the crest, it kind of gets a little bit lighter and there's less grip on the tires. So what you want to do is as you travel over that, bleed off your brakes a little bit and then get back on them after you've come over the crest. That's going to give you the most braking ability, and then shift down into second gear. Then it's just a job of trying to find that perfect slip angle and manage the throttle and your steering on your way out. As you exit this corner, it tends to get pretty loose, so be aware of that. You might have to counter steer or let out of your throttle just a little bit to try to get a good run down into this corner. Next braking marker is going to be just before this 300 board on the right side. um, Start braking. I like to downshift into third kind of early, and then that doesn't spike the RPMs too bad, and then get down into second before I come through this corner. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's kind of the rhythm for me, so that's what I like to do. And you're looking again for this different colored asphalt. Try to get your right side tires down into it, and then you can again find that tire slip angle and get a good run out of here. Ideally you want to run up on this curb for a little extra speed, but it does tend to loosen up the car. So now about half brake pressure as we head down into the final corner. The rear of the car is going to get pretty light and it's not going to feel like it wants to cooperate until you get to about mid corner, and you can see it kind of hooks in as we hit this different strip of asphalt here, and then you can put the power down. And you can come out to this curb, but it does loosen up the car quite a bit, so if you get close to it, that's okay too. And that is a lap of Watkins Glen International. So now I got a few little tools and tips to go over real briefly. And the first one is as you come up through the S's. If you do happen to be on the left side of somebody going up through the S's, you have to be careful. So let's say right here, there's a car on your inside. As you come up through the S's and you're on the outside line for turn 2, you have to shift the car's weight more aggressive to kind of get it to cooperate, and that makes it really loose if you're on this inside line. So be really careful putting the power down as the car's weight kind of pendulums from turning right to turning left very quickly. And in this part of the track, we talked about bleeding off the brakes as you come over this crest. If you don't do that, it's really, really easy to lock those front tires up and just kind of slide through that braking zone, and it's hard to get back on track. So let's take a look at this one more time in slow motion. As we start to brake, the car's weight pitches forward and the nose loads up with weight. And as we come over the crest, which is right as we pass the caution light, right about here, you'll see the tires lose contact with the racetrack. And that's why we need to bleed off of the brakes, because right there, there's less weight on those front tires, so they have less braking ability. So we need to compensate for that by using less brake pedal. And if you don't carry a constant brake pressure through there, then you might just lock up the front tires like this. Now, one thing you can do is actually back up your braking zone a bit so that you're not braking quite as hard as you near the crest, or you can try lifting off of the brakes just a little bit. And the last trick is downshifting too soon. So into turn 1 specifically, you're going downhill. So when you get on the brakes, you have even more weight pitching itself forward and less weight on the back tires. And because of this, they don't have a lot of grip. So if you downshift too early and you kick a lot of RPM into the engine and to the back tires, they don't have a lot of grip anyway, and you can spike the RPM and the rear tires lose grip, and the rear can begin hopping around, or it could just spin you out pretty quickly altogether. And there we have it. That is the conclusion of another track guide. Thank you all so much for watching and being here. I hope you found some more tricks for the track. If you did, let me know. Let me know what you found helpful. Good luck with your race weeks. Hopefully I'll see some of you on track. If you do see me, say hey. I always like hearing from you guys. And with that, have a good night or day, or again, whenever you're watching this. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.